Imagine a national team with a promising and talented squad. I think when you go into their squad, they have players playing all over the world and they feel like they are the dark horses of every tournament. Some always tip them to win a tournament, but they have never been able to win it before. I'm talking about no other than Les Aigles, the Mali national team. And here is their profile for the AFCON 2025. Whether finally this will be the Mali year. So Mali were making their 14th appearance at the Africa Cup of Nations since it started in 1957. And in that whole time, they have never been able to win the tournament before. The best they ever did was 1972, finishing second place when they lost that final to Congo Republic. In recent years, they've had a few bits of successes, winning the bronze medal in 2012 and also winning bronze medal in 2013 AFCON. But since that time, they've just been flirting with the tournament without really winning a medal again. They qualified comfortably to the AFCON after finishing top of their group in a group which included Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and Eswatini, and they didn't even lose a match the whole qualification process. The hope is for the AFCON to be a similar story. So let's dive into the Mali team they'll be presenting to the AFCON. The team is led by head coach Tom Sanfied. This will be his first ever major tournament with the Mali national team since he took over as head coach. But he has had previous stints coaching in the AFCON. He was previously with Gambia and they were at the AFCON in 2021. He took Gambia to the knockout stages on their first ever AFCON appearance. Then in 2023, it was group stage exit for him with Gambia. So he has previous experience from the Gambia national team. This time he's with Mali, agreeably a better team when you're doing squad for squad in terms of quality of players, squad for squad. So the expectations is for him to do way better than he did with Gambia. Also, during his stint with Mali, they failed to qualify to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And they were one of the seeded teams, one of the favorites to qualify, and they failed to make it. So that means that for this AFCON, a lot of hopes for his job will be based on the tournament, whether he performs or not. Whether he's staying or not, it will depend on whether he's performing at the AFCON, possibly maybe winning it or not. But his squad for the AFCON is not the ideally strong Mali team as we've seen in recent years. And that's because a lot of the major key players in this team, a name like Amadou Haidara, Ibrahim Akone, Amari Traore, Mohamed Kamara, these players were the core of the national team and they were playing at the highest level. But as of now, for most of these players, it's either they are nearing their late 30s or they've given out of form so much. So a player like Amadou Haidara has not really had a lot of minutes this season. Ibrahim Akone had a nasty injury and since his return has not really been able to get to the form he was. Mohamed Kamara is now playing in Saudi Arabia. Even Amari Traore, who is playing in the French league, but then his level has dropped from when he was at his peak playing for Mali. Then you even have someone like Yves Bissouma, who should be ideally the most known Mali player in terms of people outside Mali. But then his influence on the national team has not really been felt throughout the AFCON tournaments that they've been. And then you can even take out players like Dade Samaseko, Falai Sako, Adama Chorinos, and it's even unlikely that we'll see these ones at the next AFCON tournament. But enough of the players. Let's talk about the ones who I think are the ones to watch. 3 players who I think will really be crucial for Mali in the AFCON. And number 1 is quite a bit controversial pick, and that's the goalkeeper, Djigui Diarra. And let me explain why it's a bit controversial. So Diarra is your perfect modern-day goalkeeper. In terms of coming out to swim the ball, he does it so well. He comes out, reads the game so well, and times his runs off the line. And to be so sure, when Mali is playing, they play with full confidence because the defense can play high up the pitch. You know that when a long ball is played behind them, there is always Djigui there to sweep behind the defense and then sanitize that area. Then also, he's so good with the ball on his feet, more like an extra player on the field. So it adds a lot to the build-up play of Mali for him. And then what he's good at, it also turns out to be what hurt the national team. Typical example, when Mali played against Ghana in the World Cup qualifiers, they lost by 1-0. And in this game, they conceded a goal where Diarra was coming out to claim a corner kick. And he's not so tall. He's not ideally a tall goalkeeper when you compare it to other goalkeepers. He isn't so tall, so he came out trying to claim the ball. And in the midst of coming to claim the ball, he missed it, and Ghana scored from that. And that result from that game was what led to Mali officially not qualifying to the World Cup. So even after that error he made, the legendary goalkeeper who was with Mali in 2013 when they won the bronze medal, that is Mamadou Samassa, was brought back to start for the national team in their next two competitive games. So even going into this AFCON, the starting spot for Guerra is not that certain, but Samassa is, I think, 35 years, and I don't really think Mali will be using him on a consistent basis at the AFCON. I think Diarra will still be crucial to their play, especially with the attributes he brings onto the pitch. And I think he's one to watch for the tournament. Then Kamari Doumbia, this man who I think will be very crucial to the play of Mali. And that's very simple. He's only 22 years now, but I think for this player, it's highly possible that he will retire as either one of the greatest Mali footballers of all time, if not, maybe the greatest. That's because he's only 22, as I mentioned earlier, and he's the third all-time top scorer for the national team. At 22 years, third all-time top scorer for Mali. And his operation is so simple. He operates as the OG number 10 player, the kind of players you don't see anymore. Good with the ball at his feet in terms of controlling the ball, good in terms of positioning, knows how to position himself well, especially in the pocket of spaces in and outside the penalty area. Also, very good technique on the ball from set pieces, even from striking the ball from afar. He's so good at that. And also can pick up his teammate with the ball. So delivers goals, delivers assists. And it's no surprise that he's already top 3 all-time top scorer for Mali at 22 years. And at this AFCON, if Mali are scoring goals, surely, or even if they are assisting, surely, majority will be passing through the man, Comoros and Zambia. Then third player to highlight will be Nene Dogeles for Mali, and that's because this is your tricky customer, the player who comes off with something out of the blue, or no one expected. He's playing on the wings. He can either beat the defenders and then swinging crosses, cross the balls to create chances, or even on rare occasions, cutting beat defenders, cut in, and then strike the ball either from range or from the box because he has that quality to strike the balls. And classical example was the AFCON 2023 Mali against Ivory Coast, where he took on a number of Ivorian players and struck the ball accurately from outside the box to score for Mali in that game. So this is a player who, when the going gets tough, he knows how to take the game on himself and then do something creative to deliver results for Mali. But with all these talents, Mali are in a tough group, relatively tough group. Not so tough when you look at it on paper because they're in group with the host nation, Morocco, then Comoros, who are only playing at their second AFCON tournaments, then Zambia, who are the last AFCON were eliminated in the group stages. So on paper, not so tough, but in reality, it could be a bit tricky, especially for the Mali national team. That is because, one, they have never beaten Zambia in a competitive game before. So when it's Mali and Zambia in a competitive game, their best is a draw. They have never won a game against Zambia when it's competitive before. Also against Morocco, they have never beaten Morocco in a competitive game since 1992. That is 33 years. 33 years. So they have to break a 33-year jinx to beat Morocco, to win a game against them, and also to break a jinx they've never done, something they've never done before, beat Zambia. So 2 tough games. That's why it's a tricky group. But then for Comoros also, it's also a bit tricky. That's because their last 2 games they played against Comoros, they were in the same group with Comoros in the World Cup qualifiers. And Mali won the first leg by 3-0. Mali won the second leg also by 3-0. And then the tricky part is that now you're playing a team you've played against 2 times already. You've beaten them by 3-0. So they know you. They understand your play. They understand how you attack. They know how you beat them. So it's going to be difficult to try and map a strategy to beat the same team 3 times in the space of maybe 1 year or 2 years. That's going to be another tricky game for Mali. So I think personally for me in this group, even though Mali, I think, should be coming out of the group, it's very tricky, And I think they are at risk, at a huge risk of getting eliminated in the group stages. Another thing that makes it tricky for Mali is that Zambia just had their head coach so recently, I think a few months ago, Avram Grant. That means they'll be carrying into the AFCON with a whole new coach. And this could play in two folds. Either one, it could be a coach who does not really understand the AFCON and cannot really impose himself on a tournament in terms of the high level of play and how the game varies at that level. Or it could also be in a way that there is a new coach, new motivation for the players to play for the coach. There's also a bit of um, new, fresh energy in the Zambia dressing room and national team. Then also a bit of difficulty in trying to understand how the approach of the coach will be for Zambia, because we haven't seen a lot of him yet as compared to Avram Grant, who had played even at the last AFCON with Zambia. So it was relatively easier to understand how he plays with the Zambia team. But now you have a new coach with a new team, and it will be a bit difficult to try and predict how they'll play. But to my prediction, I think Mali on paper still have three ways to qualify from this group. I still believe it to be tough. They'll have it so tough in this group, and then I think they'll make it eventually, because three teams will make it out of a group possibly, and I think Mali will make it out of this group stage. And my final prediction for Mali is quarterfinal for Mali for this AFCON. But that's only my prediction. Also, you can also let me know your thoughts about Mali, Team Mali, and the Africa Cup of Nations in the comment section. What you think they'll reach, and who are the players you think are towards for Mali at this AFCON.